Okay, and the online participants are also yet to join. So we are going to be, and what happened to the projector? It's okay. Okay. So we are going to look into this particular reference manager called Zotero. For those of you who are just joining in the call, we use Zotero as an open source tool, which means it is not particularly owned by any company. Therefore, the chances that it is going to remain free is pretty much higher. And it is completely free for any of you to use. The only catch is when you want to store a lot many articles, I think the limit right now is 2 GB storage. If you want more storage, you have to pay only for the storage. If you don't want to store articles more than 2 GB, then you can keep using Zotero for free. And for you to experience Zotero, you should have a minimum of 3 components. One is the Zotero app, which you can download. So on the screen, you see the Zotero page, zotero.org. Go into it and you can download the app. When you download it, it will install an application on your desktop with a shortcut on your desktop. And the second thing it will do is it will incorporate a MS Word plugin into your MS Word. By default, Zotero is added into your MS Word. The third component that you should check is something called Zotero Connector. So look for these 3 components. You should have the app, then you should have the MS Word plugin, and the third thing is you should have something called Zotero Connector. It is what you see on my screen, right here. So this is on my Chrome. So if you're on Explorer, you have the necessary plugins, but on Chrome, this is where you're going to find the Zotero Connector. So I'm going to give you 2 to 3 minutes to do these installations. In the meanwhile, let the other participants also join, and then I'll give you a quick demo as to what all you can do with this reference manager before we move on to the next tool. Yes, you have to install both. You should install Zotero, you should also install Zotero Connector. Okay, so for the benefit of participants who joined in late, we are starting with exploring this reference manager called Zotero. And for you to be able to use this reference manager effectively, you should have the app. So where do you find the app? Just go to zotero.org. You'll have an option there. You can download the app for your Windows, Linux, iOS, whatever OS you have. There is a specific app that you can download and install it. So for the Zotero connector or for the Zotero to work properly, you should have the app. Then you should have a browser plugin or add-in called the Zotero connector, and you should also have something called an MS Word plugin. App, connector, and MS Word plugin. When all the three are installed properly, you'll be able to use Zotero seamlessly for collecting literature right from Google Scholar, saving it, organizing it, and adding references and citations into your MS Word. So go to zotero.org, download and install Zotero for your particular OS. After you have done that, that will automatically add the MS Word plugin to your MS Word application. You don't have to worry about that. Unless it does not happen, then you'll have to uninstall, reinstall, troubleshooting can come in later on. The second component that you should be installing is something called Zotero connector, which will get integrated into your browser. So in my case, I use Chrome. So I have added Zotero connector to my Chrome. If you use Internet Explorer, add it. If you use Edge, I don't think you have a add-on for Edge, but it is available for Firefox, it's available for Internet Explorer, it's also available for Chrome. So those of you online, if you have any questions exclusively online, then please drop your questions into the chat box. So I'm going to give you just 2 minutes to get your installation sorted, and then I'm going to start demonstrating this tool because we might need a 5-10 minute window to do that. Okay, so are you ready to start? Let me finish the demonstration and then you can go back to doing your installations. That will be much more effective. Okay, I have a question on the chat box. Dr. Gopi Krishna asks, which journals are, okay, someone has to mute your laptop. So you just have to reduce the volume on your laptop. Okay. Which journals come under high impact journals? This is a very relative question. So high impact depends on which field you are in. There is no one single impact factor I can tell you, okay, if your journal is above this impact factor, it's a high impact journal. And a good way to find out these high impact journals or the best journals in your field is to look at the Scopus and WOS indexing, and all those journals that come under the QN category, they are the high impact journals. In your field, just give your field, do a search, you will have a list of journals. filter only the Q1 journals out. Now this list is the high impact journals for your particular field. Okay. So now let us go and figure out the Zotero. So where do we normally search for literature? We do it in Google Scholar. So I am going to go into Google Scholar. Remember, Zotero is only your storage system. You cannot find literature on Zotero. So I have to go into a literature search database like Google Scholar or any other database and search for literature. And when I find that there are one or two papers, say I'm interested in reading this paper, can I have all your attention on the screen? If you have not used a reference manager, especially, you should pay attention. Okay, but if you have used Mendeley, it is pretty much similar to what Mendeley can do. So now let us assume I am a researcher who's reading a paper on Google Scholar, and now I am at the full text, and I want this paper to be stored. I find this paper very relevant for my research. What do? I don't have to go download PDF and then take it to a folder and all. Instead, I can just go into my Chrome plugin or Chrome add-on called Zotero Connector. Click on Zotero Connector, and because I already have a Zotero app, this gives me all the folders on my Zotero app. So maybe I will store it into this folder called Untitled. So this is my Untitled folder. Already have a lot of these Untitled folders. What I'm going to do is I'll show you how to create the folders, and then we'll add papers only to that folder. That makes it more clear. So this is how your Zotero interface, your app will look like. And because I have already a collection, there are papers here. If not, you'll see blank pages here. So how do you add a new folder where you can start storing your papers? Just click on this small yellow folder on the left top with a green plus sign, and you can start a new collection or a new folder. I'm going to name this collection as IIITNS to represent that it is for both Naswit and Srikakulam. So I'll add a new folder. Now, once I add this folder, I can also add subfolders. How do I do that? Click on the folder for which you want to add subfolders, and then go back to the same foldering system and click on it. So maybe I label this as group 1. So now there is a new folder called group 1, but it is somewhere. I want it as a subfolder of IIITNS. You can just drag and drop. That is one good feature of Zotero and Mendeley as well. So anytime you want to rearrange the folders, just hold your mouse, drag and drop, and you can move these folders all over the place. So now let us assume I want to start saving my papers to this folder called IIITNS. So I'm reading a paper and I want to save this into my Zotero collection. Just click on my Zotero connector, pick the folder where I want the paper to be saved, and then click on done. Now hello. Okay, great. So now my paper is here. Similarly, I can keep doing this. So say for instance, I go back, read a second paper. I want this paper to be on my folder. So I'm going to just click on my Zotero connector, and that will open up the entire folder. And because recently I used the IIITNS folder, that folder is already open, which means all I have to do is just hit on the enter button, and now this paper also gets added to this folder. Let us add 2 or 3 more papers. So say, let's pick this paper and click on Zotero connector, and then say enter. Your third paper gets stored into this folder. Similarly, 2 more papers we are going to save. So this does not only work for papers, you can also save websites, because sometimes you will also add websites as one of your references. In that cases, you can also save websites, other information sources and whatnot. So let's pick this paper. go to your browser add-ons, click on Zotero connector, and when the correct folder is displayed, hit on the enter button. So now you have all your papers here. And say I want to check which of these papers have a full text. Select all the papers, click on the right, is that a right click? I always get confused with, no, it's a left click, right? When you do it on this side, and then you click on find available PDFs. Now Zotero will go and see if PDFs are available for these respective resources. If it is available, those PDFs will get added, and you can read papers right within Zotero. You don't have to jump between multiple folders to find your PDFs. If a PDF is available, it gets added. If you can see, the PDF for the second paper was just now added. It did not have a PDF 2 minutes ago, now it has a PDF. The fourth paper did not have a PDF, now you have added the PDF. It is checking for the fifth paper. If the PDF is available, it will get added. If it is not available, then it cannot get added. So when you see this PDF icon here, you can click on the paper and you will get to read the paper within the Zotero interface. The entire paper can be read here. This is one advantage where you can quickly aggregate your PDFs. This is where you make all the folders and so on. So now that we have collected a set of literature, let's assume that I have collected hundreds of papers on Zotero. Now I have to go back and figure out how to add citations into my MS Office or MS Word document. So let us start a new blank document and let us go back and simply copy some sentences, some random sentences, or maybe I use PaperPal because I have it here. I can use PaperPal to write some sentences and then add citations. Okay? Let us assume I am writing some of these sentences here. I use the right option. I say write about my own favorite topic of intermittent fasting. And click on enter. Now PaperPal will generate a paragraph, sometimes an entire essay even. So I'm inserting. Why did I do this? So for using Zotero, you don't have to use PaperPal. PaperPal and Zotero have nothing to do with each other. But I don't want to start with a blank page. I want to demonstrate how to add citations. So instead of me spending time writing this draft, I've quickly used an AI. So now let us assume I wrote these sentences by myself. These are sentences that are a part of my paper. Now for every single sentence or for most of the sentences, I am supposed to add a citation. How do I add citations using Zotero? For that, you should first know where can you find the Zotero plugin within your MS Word. So if you look at this top panel, right after mailing, somewhere around after view, you have an exclusive panel for Zotero. And when you open the Zotero panel, you should see this red and yellow colors. When you see these colors, it means your Zotero plugin is installed properly. If all of this appears in gray, then there is something wrong with your installation. You should uninstall it and reinstall it with administrator privileges to make sure that all the installation is happening correctly. So now let us go ahead and add citations to my first sentence. How do I do it? Just click on Add Edit Citation. Okay, and you'll be asked to pick a citation style. So I just use the AMA style. You can pick any style of your choice. And now Zotero opens up. And if you already know the name of the author or a part of the title, this becomes easier. You can just start typing in names and say, my author name starts with ARA. Now, everything, wherever there is ARA in any of the titles, any of the authors, that starts showing up on this drop down. And say the author I had in mind was Lima et al. 2020. So I have picked that first paper. Now, say I have a paper in mind, but I cannot remember it. In that case, don't do anything to this pop-up. Just open your Zotero. and say this is the paper that I'm looking for. In that case, I can start typing the name of the author here. Where is the author? Okay, this happens to be a web page, so there is no author. Let me do it for this page here. That is what is. Let me start typing the title of the paper. That is easier. So, metabolic impact of intermittent fasting. Now, this is the paper I'm looking for. Click, it adds to the pop-up. Don't do anything. You can just go back to your MS Word where you were writing, and you can add citations. Sometimes, if it does not happen, it's just on the adjacent panel. Don't panic. And then say the next paper I'm interested in adding starts with something. Okay, let's assume this is my paper. Click on it. Once you're done adding all the citations for one particular sentence, for one particular location, just click on enter. Now the citations have been added to the particular sentence, and the citations are in the form of numbers. Let me add a few more citations similar to that. Every time you want to add a citation, you want to edit a citation, always go back into the add edit citation option and do it. Never do any changes manually. If you do a manual change, then the link between your citations and the Zotero software and your reference list gets broken. You can no longer use Zotero. So anytime you want to make changes, you should go back and do it. Let me add a few more references to the second line. And let's say now I'm looking for a paper with an author whose name starts with CAR something. Okay. So this just for demonstration purposes when I don't know the author name. But when you're doing it in a real life scenario, you definitely know the author name. If not, you can always open your Zotero and find out the appropriate author. So then I add three authors, I'm done, I give an enter. So now the citations have been added, but this is just the first step. Let's assume I'm only writing these two lines and nothing more. Okay. So now let's assume I have completed an entire paper and there are hundreds of references on my paper. I have to add not just the citations, I should also generate a reference list for which you use this feature called add edit bibliography. Place your cursor where you want the reference list to be generated. Click on add edit bibliography and that's it. Your entire bibliography in the appropriate style is added. What if this is not the style I am interested in? I want the citation to be in the author date format. So when anytime your citations are in the numbered format, the references are also arranged using the numbers. So this number 1 is Lenoir et al. Number 2 is this Borgund Wag et al. Number 3 is Barnowski et al. And so on. But when you change your citation style into the author date format, your reference list should also be changed in the alphabetical order. So any author starting with the letter A, that will become your first reference. The order will also change. All this can be done by Zotero. You don't have to do any of the changes manually. So how do you do that? If you want to change the reference style of a particular document, go into this feature called document preferences. Now here you have tens of thousands of different styles. So it has around 10,500 styles or so. Now pick a style that you are interested in. So in my case, I think I like the Elsevier Harvard style for the author date format. So one single click, the citations have changed, the references have also been rearranged in the alphabetical order. I didn't have to mention that, I didn't have to make any single change. Similarly, you can make or change your reference styles to any of these. Just a minute. Yeah. So you can make changes by picking any of the journals you want from this list. So you have all your journals listed here. There are 10,534 styles available. You can just pick the target journal where you want to submit your manuscript to, and the style of the references will be added to both the citations and references. So now, what if, okay, there are three references. I don't want this second reference. I want to delete it. In such case, don't just pick or select this reference and hit on delete. You can never do that. Anytime you want to make a change in the cluster, select the cluster, go back to add edit citations. I don't want the second reference. So just place your cursor where you don't want a reference, delete it here. And then hit enter. Now the reference will be removed from your citation list. But if you scroll down, you'll see that the reference has also been removed from the reference list. All this happens automatically. And why is this citation highlighted in gray? When you click on the reference list also, anywhere you click, the entire reference list shows up in gray. Anytime you see such gray highlights in Zotero, it shows that your references and citations are linked to each other. Only as long as they are linked to each other, this automatic changes will happen. But once you're done adding all citations, making all changes to your references, and you're ready to submit your document to the journal, this linkage is a problem. Journals want you to unlink and then only submit your manuscript to the journals. In such cases, unlinking is also pretty straightforward in Zotero. Just go to this feature called Unlink Citations. Zotero will ask you if you're sure you want to remove these field codes, say OK, and now these references and citations are no longer linked, they are just plain text. From now on, any changes you want to make to the references and citations, you have to do it manually. So the good practice is never unlink citations and references on your master copy. Always have a master copy of your paper where the references and citations remain linked. Make a copy of your paper, do the unlinking, submit it to the journal so that you will always have the master copy. And anytime, say, unfortunately, a journal rejects your paper, you have to move it to a second journal. Now you have to make a complete change to the reference styles. That can be done in less than 1 minute if you still retain your master copy. Anytime you lose your master copy, your work is gone. You have to start from scratch to link each of the citations with your references. So any quick questions? So how many of you like this feature?
Ma'am, if the citation starts at the starting of the sentence,
Okay.
someone is stating some statement.
Yeah.
So again, we should not have a bracket for that.
No, even when you start saying that author et al. Said so and so, it is still a good practice to add that as a reference
But
style.
when we do submit to some other journals, they do put this as an error part. Like you do get the comments.
When you add a second citation, in such cases, that will hardly happen in 4 or 5 instances in an entire manuscript. My suggestion is do that manually. Make a master copy of your paper. Just before you submit, just do manual changes for those 4 or 5 references.
Like, is there any other thing like we can?
Some of these styles will help you do that. Say if you're on, I think APA style might help you add such changes, or you should also check the IEEE style if that is the standard.
With reference to number.
Yeah.
Style is related to the alphabetical.
Yeah, mostly.
But the same thing I'm getting here.
Okay. No, I don't think you can have two different styles within one style. And in most of the cases, adding this author name at the beginning of the sentence, first thing it should be avoided because it unnecessarily adds to the complexity of a sentence. But in very rare cases, 4 or 5 instances in a manuscript where you want to do that, I would suggest do that manually. Towards the end, just before you submit. That is the easiest way to get this done instead of looking for a software. So now, because I talked about a reference manager, I'm also going to show you an AI tool which can help you make this change quickly. So let us copy this reference and go into this AI tool called Tricks. But remember, Tricks, at least on the free version, is not taking care of your citations, but it can take care of your reference lists. So I have brought my five references from the paper and I'm just pasting it into bricks. And now let us say I want to convert this into a different style, a style that is available here. Which one can we pick? Let us say I want the biomed central style or AIP style because these are the styles that are available for free. So you can pick a style, click on Brixit, log in using your Google account, and then 1 or 2 minutes your reference list, even if you did not use a reference manager, even if you don't even have a reference manager, you can just pick the references, put it into Trix, pick a style, and Trix will make all these extensive changes and it will give you a nicely changed output which you can just copy paste into your manuscript. But this should be used only as a last case resort. The best practice is still to have a reference manager so that you have a copy which can keep being automatically changed to different styles, no matter how many journals you have to change your paper to. This will also come in handy when you are doing your thesis. So for your thesis, you have like hundreds of references, and then when you want to add a part of those references into your paper, it helps. It quickly helps to move your references from one style to the other. So, any questions about the reference manager? So, I wanted to show you also this one tool which you can use for creating your what do you call it? Your summaries. So, a tool where I introduced a tool where you can add your voice notes and the voice notes will be converted into text. This text you can download as whatever you want as a MS Word document, for instance, and then it gets added on to your current manuscript and whatnot. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to add a lot of filler words like so, what, here, go, and everything to see how good this tool can clean up the message that I'm talking about. So let's stop here and see how the summary looks like. Okay? So what I have done basically now is I've recorded whatever gibberish I've tried to add on to my talk in the past 20 seconds or maybe 1 minute. And let's see how good this tool is in picking up whatever I speak and organizing it. So let's stop the recording. So normally with transcription tools, the old age transcription tools, if I speak like I spoke just now, what will happen is for every long pause that I try to give, the tool will add a full stop. Because that is all it can understand. But because there is an AI component here, where is my original transcript? See, this is what my original transcript looks like. So I have added so many words, so many of these pauses and so on. But even with such a vast original transcript, the tool has done a very good cleanup job, and this is the final processed summary of whatever I spoke for the past 1 minute. And you can clearly see, even with such a short version, you can see that the text is pretty clean and it has all the right punctuations. It does not have all of this process, and whatever I tried to introduce, all of that has been cleaned up, which means these can be great voice assistants you can have on your phone. You can quickly dictate class notes and download it. Say you want to set a question paper, for instance. You can quickly dictate your questions into the app. You don't have to sit and type out your questions. Do you want to give some handouts to your students with a set of instructions? Just dictate. Your job is much easier, and audio pen allows you to check out the tool for quite some time for free. But of course, if you want to have the full functionality, you'll go for the premium version. So the next tool that I'm going to introduce is called IntraMax. Maybe I'll give you 5 minutes to check out Zotero. That's all the time we have before we move on to IntraMax, because I also want to explore a presentation maker called Dharma with you, so that once you get introduced to the tools, then you'll have the initiative to explore them on your own. I know I have jam packed both the days with so many things, overwhelmed some of you, but that's the only way we can learn, right? There is just so much to learn, and my intention is to give you as much as possible, initiate you into all of those things, so that even after I leave, you continue to learn on your own. But if we never get you initiated, you will still be hesitant to move into these tools. So that is my goal, and even if you are overwhelmed, that's the way to learn with me at least. So let's go ahead and do it. So 5 minutes for Zotero before we jump into eDrawmax. And if you have any specific questions, please feel free to ask. Even with Zotero, don't worry if it looks like a silly question, please ask. Because Zotero, unless you ask questions, unless you push it, you'll not know what are the different functionalities that you can use. Only when you start using it, you'll get it. So ideally, you should have Zotero right when you are collecting your first literature paper. Never read papers or never store papers anywhere else. Don't start those yellow folders on your system. Anything and everything, all your literature should be on Zotero. One place, store it, and then start using it for adding your citations and references. So last 2 minutes for Zotero.
If it is a paid subscription, you can get the PDF in Zotero.
No. So Zotero will only give you PDF if it is available on its database or somewhere where it can find. If it is not available, then you can add the PDF manually to Zotero. That can also happen. So there is an option where you can add files.
Hello,
See,
hello.
yeah, you can attach stored copy of a file. So what you have to do is, say for instance, this particular paper here, it does not have a PDF. Zotero was not able to find a PDF. Instead, you can just attach the file. So you can just take a stored copy of your file and add it. But you should verify if the file is correct because Zotero did not add it. You have added it manually. So in case of subscription papers, Zotero cannot find the full text for you. So instead, what you can do is you find the full text somewhere, download it, and then you can add the PDF also into Zotero. You don't have to have a separate folder on your laptop. Just pick the reference for which you want to add the PDF. There is this small attach file option. Click on that. You can either attach a link, you can also attach a stored copy of your file, go into your system, pick the appropriate file, add it, that will get added to this particular reference. And now you can read that file right here. And this is not a paper, this is my scholarship document. But don't do that, you add the appropriate files. Okay. So this is a quick way by which you can also add papers that are not available online. And there are also so many other functionalities where you can see a timeline of your research, where you can place your entire collection of papers on a timeline. I'm not going into all that. So what I have showed you today is a very basic functionality of Zotero. You're collecting literature directly into Zotero. You're using Zotero functionality in MS Word to add citations, make changes to your citations, generate a reference list, and then convert this entire references and citations into 10,000 plus different styles depending on whichever journal you want to publish. And then you're also learning how to unlink these citations and references so that your document is ready for journal submission. If you know this much, most of your 90% of your requirements from Zotero is taken care of. Everything else is almost cosmetic. They're just add-ons, not the basic requirements. So I'm going to move into the next tool called Wondershare eDraw Max. So you can just Google for eDraw Max and you end up in a page that looks like this. And here you can download the appropriate. There are a lot many products. So do you want eDraw Max? Do you want eDraw Mind? All of that you pick and then you install it. When you install it, this is how the interface will look like. And on this interface, you have an option where you can create some very basic flowcharts, workflow diagrams, a lot of these. And when you are from the engineering background, I believe you use, say some of you are from electrical engineering fields, then these basic circuit diagrams are available for you with all the necessary components, resistors, transistors, capacitors. That is all I remember from my school days. So you have all of these basic components. You can move each of these components. You can copy paste this component. So once you have such a template with all the necessary components, actually creating the final output becomes pretty easier. Or say you are from some category where you want block diagrams, or say you're from industrial engineering backgrounds and you want some of these processes. Power plant PID, wastewater treatment PID. What exactly is PID? Somebody please teach me. What is PID? Pi diagrams. Okay, because here it says PID, wastewater treatment PID, power plant PID. I have no idea what that means, but you have all of these templates, and each of this you can copy paste. So each of this component is something you can move around, you can copy paste, you can open a new canvas, pick up whatever you want. Say you only want the turbine, you only want the generator for your image, you can create such images. and then you add some block diagrams. I'm just wondering where there are all those diagrams. You have these process flow diagrams. If you're highly industrially oriented engineers, then maybe these diagrams will come in handy, where all your engineering process diagrams are available, components are available. Or say if you're someone who is interested in marketing, beyond your engineering capabilities, if you're doing projects that have a marketing component to it, so how do you represent sales? How do you represent your best analysis? That can happen. And also, eDraw Max has this feature called eDraw AI, where you can quickly create mind maps, lead canvas, tables, flow charts without having to build any of those components. You can just click on eDraw AI and then you can enter your prompt here, describe your image in the greatest possible detail, and the AI will build your complete image. One good thing about what Max creates is that it will not create all this out of the world, colorful images which you cannot even use on your manuscripts. Instead, it will create very accurate diagrams, very simplified diagrams, line diagrams that are very much eligible for you to be using them on your manuscript. So unlike the other AI where you cannot use the output, when you get the output from Max, you can happily use the output on your papers. But just for a word of caution, I would state below the figure that this figure was generated using Max AI. Anytime you use AI for images, please be very explicit and add a line in your figure legend stating that you used such and such AI tool for making the images, and then let the editor decide. If they feel the image is not good enough, not eligible enough, then they are going to tell you. They'll tell you that okay, replace this image with a conventionally drawn image. You can go ahead and make the changes if it is so required. If not, I think the paper will go ahead get processed as it is, and you would have never done anything wrong. Even if the editor overlooks the fact that you have mentioned it in the figure legend, the problem is not yours, the problem is with the journal. So always declare the use of AI. Then everything becomes much simpler. Okay. And one other tool I want to quickly introduce to you is called Gitmind. This tool can come in really handy. Yesterday, if for those of you who attended the lecture yesterday morning, you know what mind maps are and how mind maps can help you quickly design your class lessons, right? For that, this is a great tool to have. Say, for instance, for my topic, I give a very small prompt with a few keywords, and in less than a minute, in a few seconds, the tool gives me such a nice detailed mind map. Okay. So now I have a very clear idea of what are the different topics that I should be discussing when I discuss my topic of interest. And this entire flowchart mind map you see on my screen, that takes less than 1 minute. And all I had to do was what you see at the center of the screen. This was my prompt. Based on this prompt, this free mind mapping tool has given me so many ideas, so many concepts. This tool could be a great addition to you as a teacher when you want to design your classroom lessons. It is also a great addition when you want to have an overarching image that has to go into your introduction sections of a paper, for instance. So I find Gitmind and eDraw Max, between these two tools, you almost have all your imaging requirements taken care of. There is no question of copyright infringement. There is no question of AI taking over your images. This is a very conventional tool which has smartly integrated AI into its functionality. Okay. So the last tool that I want to talk about is Gamma AI. Among the different tools that are available for you to check out, I think Gamma does a pretty good job. So when I give a very small prompt, this is how the output will look like. Okay, so my prompt is just the effect of intermittent fasting on heart, eye, kidney, whatever. And this is all I gave, just this golden color words. This was my prompt. And based on my prompt, in less than 1 minute, the AI has created this set of slides for me with the images, with the text, all neatly organized. And if I'm already an expert here and I'm only trying to teach this topic to my class students, I can spend an extra 10 minutes and my slideshow is ready for my tomorrow's class because I'm the expert. But if you're not the expert, then this does not work because the human, because only when the slides are just an addition to what you already know, only then you can outsource this slide making to a different tool. If you want the tool to do a very thorough research and validate the information also for you, that can get a bit tricky. But when you are preparing for your classrooms, you want a quick slideshow, this will save so much of your time. Just give a nice detailed prompt, and in 2 minutes, you have to draft slides. In the next half an hour, you can edit out, make changes, customize the slides for your requirement, and you have a complete deck. You can just go take present for your tomorrow's class. So that was my quick final run through, and we are perfectly on time at 3. So, any questions? Take 5 minutes, quickly explore these tools. Any questions? Go ahead and ask.
Ma'am, I think it will give only 10 slides, right?
Yeah,
If
on the free version. If you're on the pro version, you can have many more slides. I think up to 18, 20 slides and all is possible.
if we buy,
Yes.
and for every slide we'll get a watermark.
No, there is no watermark.
I got it. Like when you download this,
Okay,
the
but
presentation is we are getting.
I think you don't even have to download, right? You can just present it. There is usually no watermark as far as I have seen. There is the watermark.
Yes. Like the second slide, third slide, like when we download, then we get it.
Yeah, so but you don't have to exactly download. You can make, you can edit, you can do everything on the interface when you're on the free version. But when you're on the pro version, there is no watermark at all, even when you download. So Gamma is where you can also import your files, and then you can import a presentation, you can enhance it, you can import a document, convert it into a presentation. All of these functionalities are available at Gamma. And at every single stage, Gamma will let you interact with the material. It will give you a template. It's not like you give a prompt and it directly jumps to the final slides. At every single step, you get to decide if the outline is okay, if the main themes of these slides are okay. You can also edit content, add content, you can review the images. If you don't like some of the images generated by AI, you can replace them with your own images. Lot of such interactive functionalities are available with Gamma, and that's the reason why I like Gamma better when compared to other similar tools. So are we ready for questions and for some feedback?
So
So for those of you who were not on yesterday's session and you would want to have a way to reach me, this is where you can reach me. So that is my LinkedIn page code and my contact details where you can reach me beyond the session as well. And even on LinkedIn, I keep updating new AI tools. So my LinkedIn page is a good educational resource, I would say, for you to learn of new tools as well. I try to write at least 3 times a week, at least when I'm not traveling. time for the official conclusions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to
You want to
add
add more images. On the yeah, you can do that. So Gamma, before creating this slide, it will give you an option where you can revise the content, revise the images also. So you can make the changes and then Gamma will incorporate it into the final solution.
But
But the amount of changes you can make get better when you're on the pro version. So are we ready for our goodbyes? So you have been one of the nicest audiences, no questions whatsoever. I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing.
I
have had audiences who just keep me alive with so many questions. I've had sessions where the session will get delayed by 45 minutes, 1 hour, because people cannot stop asking questions. Yeah. If you have any questions, you can always drop me a WhatsApp message. That is always possible. And then ma'am had a question. So if you have to pick a few of these tools, go for the paid version, which tools I should pick? So today I have actually made a pick of all those tools which will be worth investing your money. To start off with, I would say Paperpal is definitely a good tool. Don't take my word for granted. You can go home, check the functionalities of Quillbot, Brinka, Paperpal, and Rightful. So these are the most popular language editing tools, and see which of these tools give you the best options for the price you pay. And I'm pretty sure you'll come to the same conclusion that Paperpal is the best out there in the field in that particular segment. And then if you're someone who also wants help with data extraction, then SciSpace is a good option. eDrawMax could come in really handy if you create a lot of images, for instance. And reference managers, you can invest in Trix, but Trix is pretty costly. They charge you for every single reference, for every single conversion. So I have spoken with the team. I have definitely expressed my displeasure around this paying method, but that is their business model. We cannot really comment on that. So my suggestion is please go with the free reference manager. When you have Zotero, don't pay for a reference management tool, just stick to Zotero. So between Paperpal, eDrawMax, and Zotero, you have all your requirements taken care of. And Gamma is a nice addition to have in case that you are making a lot of presentations for your classroom sessions. If it is just one presentation occasionally, once in a semester, twice in a semester, it does not make sense to have a specific tool. But if you are teachers who are more into these smart board teaching, into your very tech-based teaching, then having Gamma could also come in really handy. So one of the first tools you should be starting out is Paperpal, and also with Paperpal I mostly have discount code for Paperpal because I constantly work with the team. So if some of you are interested in getting the pro version, reach out to me. If at that point I have a discount code, I'll be very happy to share it. So I might not have one always, but anytime I have one, I'll be happy to share it with you so that you can get the tool at a discounted price.
What would be the discount rate?
Usually around 20 to 30% discount.
Okay, like we are getting it for 6,500 something.
Yeah, so you will have a 20% discount on that.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So on the actual price, you get a 20 to 30%. It depends on each season. So for some seasons they offer 20, some seasons they offer 30, and so on. And I'll also have codes for SciSpace, for lit maps, for tricks even, though I'm not a huge proponent of paying for reference management. And then I'll also have discount coupons for some other tools like lit maps, for a tool called Undermined, for reviewmypaper.ai, then ask your paper AI, I believe. So yeah, if you have your eyes on one tool, just ping me. If I'm working with the team at the moment, I'll see if I can get you a discount code specifically for you. So that's that. I'm going to close down my system.